Cool.
That's right. And some of it's hard to handle, and all you can do is, I think what I've learned is try and get the right people around you. If you can get a lot of people out there that are just sharks that just want to try and make some money, and they try and say, look, I'll manage you, and they promise the world and all those different types of things. So in my experience, it's very important to get the right people around it that actually care for you, and they want your best interest at heart, not anything else. And if they have that, then you say no to a lot of things. And at that time, though, at 23 years of age or 24, I didn't know anything. And as you say, there's no school you can go to try and learn about how to handle situations like that, and the attention. And, you know, walking out your hotel room and out the front of the hotel and there's 10 photographers there. Or sometimes I had, you know, 5 or 6 ladies in bikinis delivering me stuff, trying for a scoop for the tabloid press. Like those sorts of things, you don't know how to handle them. Sometimes you just do the wrong thing, but most of the time...
there have been times when you could only blame yourself.
Made the wrong choice.
Of course. But we'll talk about it in a moment. Let's keep on the cricket, because I wanted to talk... I mean, you said there, that gutting ball, that wasn't planned. You just, you know, you let, and it was a perfect ball. But what's impressive about you is the amount of time you spend studying the opposition, the amount of time you spend planning the bowling. You spend hours in front of videos, watching videos, don't you, of your opponents?
Not hours in videos. I go through it in my head a lot. I occasionally will watch, if I'm not quite sure about which plan I want to use to specific batters, I might ask for something every now and then, or I'll go back and I'll ring Channel 9 or someone and ask for some footage or something like that. But generally, most of it's in my head, and I've got a very good memory for, you know, if I played against you, Michael, for a few times, what shots you like and how to bowl it, and when I bowled certain deliveries, if you picked them and how you played them. And generally, when you remember those sorts of things, that dictates what your plan is. And when you've got a plan, that dictates your field. So I think when I first started, I used to just deliver the ball, and batsmen, I'd wait for them to make a mistake. And I didn't really have a plan. But as I got on and understood the game a little bit better, I understood that I needed a plan. I needed to get the batsman out. And no matter what the situation, you always say, how am I getting him out? Even if they're 1 for 300, this is how I'm getting Michael Parkinson out, and that dictates my field, no matter what. So my attitude is always to get them out, not to stop runs or to dry up runs. So when you've got your plan, whatever plan that might be, that goes from memory, and if you're not quite sure, you might try and check it out or ask somebody else, how did he play it last time? But I'm pretty good, I remember most.
But also, too, I mean, you're very good at playing the mind games against people. And you observe their body language, don't you, for signs. Can you give me an example of using that to your advantage? Sledging type things, when you want to actually put someone off their mark. You generally try and pick someone, which I've learned. I picked a few wrong ones at the start, but like I picked Sachin Tendulkar. I think he's made 1400s against Australia, so, and now he's one of my best friends. So, but you've got to pick someone that's trying to make a name for themselves in the team. They want to impress people, so they want to actually get into a bit of a scrap or into a fight. And I think if you can put someone off, it doesn't have to be. It's not, you know, swearing at them and call them an idiot. Sometimes it might be. But most of the time, the sledges, the best ones are the clever ones, or the ones that got a little bit of truth in it that just might hurt a little bit. Like?
Well, for instance, when some people get MBEs. And they didn't really have a lot to do with...
You mean Paul Collingwood?
Well, I can't remember his name, you know. But I remember there was a time when I used to play, and there was this one time in Sydney where a gentleman got an MBE and he didn't really do much to deserve that MBE, and I just let him know that you might want to hand it back. I can lend him some stamps if he wants. So
But he sledged you first, didn't he? He said you ate all the Christmas pies, didn't he?
No, well, I don't think he said that. He was actually laughing. I appeal a lot, and he was doing something like that. Anyway, whatever he said, it didn't matter in the end. I found that when I get sledged, I mean, I'll dish it out, so I have to be prepared to cop that, which is fine. But I'm very lucky that the more I get sledged, the more it makes me concentrate, and the more it actually makes me think about it. Like even my batting, I'm hopeless. But if I get sledged and that, it actually helps me. It makes me concentrate and not play a silly shot. So...
Alan Border says something about that.
Well, Alan Border was the one bloke that taught me sledging. It doesn't matter who's down the other end. If you feel like you're bowling or you're batting and you're not quite there and you're not concentrating how you should be, or it's not happening for you, he said the one thing that he does that he found worked for him was to sledge someone. Just pick someone in the opposition and pick a fight with them. And he said, if you pick a fight, because what it means is him versus you then.
So it makes you switch on, you get your competitive juices going, and makes you concentrate. So I tried that a few times, and I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. It kind of worked.
Tell the Daryl Cullinan story. Is that true, the sledge there?
Which one?
The one about the psychiatrist?
Yes, correct. That is actually true. I'll try and make it into a short version. Daryl Cullinan came against us in 1994. Melbourne, Boxing Day Test match, 85,000 people. It's the first time Australia's playing South Africa in a long time. And Daryl Cullinan had just broken the record for the highest first-class score made by a South African. He beat Graham Pollock, or Barry Richards from memory, one of the two, 300 and something. So we heard a lot about this Daryl Cullinan. And he got to Melbourne. We won the toss, elected to bat. We made a bit of a score, and every batsman that came in said that Daryl Cullinan, at second slip, had abused every single one of them, sledged every one. So everyone came in and said, well, you know, he's a pretty good player, so let's just don't say anything. So as our innings went on, he dropped 4 catches through the innings and sledged every single one of our players. When he came out to bat, Craig McDermott knocked him over first ball, caught behind. So then it rained, the game finished, we moved to Sydney. So we're talking in the meeting about Daryl Cullinan. We said, what did we get out of Daryl Cullinan? Anyone find anything? Well, he got out first ball, he dropped 4 catches and sledged the absolute out of us all. So no, we haven't got anything on him. So it was in Sydney where the wicket generally turns. It was a real dust bowl. And so he said, Alan Border decided, when he comes out, we'll see how he goes against spin straight away. So I bowled a leggy, had a plan to set him up for a flipper to see if he could pick it. Bowled a flipper and knocked him over. So that was that. Second innings comes out, same scenario. Come out again, I bowled a wrong one to him at the last ball of an over. And so I got my hat, walking back to slip. They were talking in the middle. And as I was walking past, I just sort of lingered to hear what he was saying. He started laughing. He said, oh, how easy was that wrong one to pick? I picked that wrong one quite easily. Okay. So the next over, I set him up for a flipper again. Bang. Got him out with a flipper. And I just reminded him where the change rooms were over in that direction. And with a few words before it. And it ended in off. And once I had done that, we sort of said, rightio, let's really keep it on Daryl. So any chance we had, we said the flipper's now called the Daryl ball. So it wasn't known as a flipper, it was known as Daryl ball. So we really tried to build it up on him. Anyway, the series finishes, he gets dropped for the next series, and then the next series 4 years later, he gets called back. I'm picking up the paper, and there's a big double-page interview with Daryl Cullinan about how he's been to see a psychiatrist. He's been playing the man and not the ball, and I'm picking this up, and I'm thinking, come on. Now, I'm sure you could come up with something, Michael, about that. And anyway, he comes out. I'd knock over Adam Backer, caught Mark Taylor at slip. So wherever generally the wicket falls or someone catches, you're all lingering around there. That just happens to be at first slip right next to the stumps where he comes out to bat. He takes centre, and everyone sort of moved away. And Mark Taylor said, come on, get back to you, Mark. I said, yeah, in a minute. So I was just looking around the ground, and he was facing up and asking for centre and looking at the umpire, and I just said, what colour was the couch? You know, and then I just said, as I was walking back, with hourly sessions, half hour, just pay by the hour, and then I walked back, and the crowd was into it, and I ended up getting him out stumped, so that was pretty good too. But that was true.
It's interesting playing those mind games. I mean, cricket is a game where actually that does play a part, and of course it does. I mean, it's a hugely psychological game. A lot of it played up in the head there.
It is. I think a lot of people have the ability, and I think we've all heard stories about some guys that had the ability but never quite made it. Yes. And I think they've really got to want that. And there's a lot. It's not just the package. It's like when you say, why don't you keep playing? If I could turn up the morning of a game or the night before a test match, I'd probably keep playing.
Yes.
But it's not. You can't pick and choose. You have to take the whole package, and that is the training. That is the modern-day professional cricketer or sportsman. It is going to team meetings, to team functions, to recovery the next morning, and actually applying yourself to doing all those types of things. And I knew when it started to become a bit of a chore that my enjoyment was starting to wane. Then it was time for me to go, because I had the opportunity also to go on a high. And one thing I spoke to, when I say I spoke to a lot of people, one of the people I spoke to was Ian Chappell. And I said to him, listen, mate, I really think it's my time. It's time to retire. And I